You're on the Couch Cage side with your host Kyle Delaney for CouchFire.co. And this installment, I'd like to break down and predict the upcoming fight, UFC 144 in Japan, between Anthony Showtime Pettis and Joe Lauzon. Now, here's a couple things about this fight: is that both fighters are sitting on top of the lightweight division right now, and with the win in this fight, they could definitely earn at least a top contender spot, or eventually down the road get that title shot. Remember, Anthony Pettis is the former WEC champion, and he came into the UFC expecting a title shot, fought Guida, lost. Now he's trying to work his way back to that title shot. Same thing with Joe Lauzon. Fights Melvin Guillard, once considered a really top contender, almost next in line to get a title shot, beats him, and Lauzon's now sitting on top of the division. So we'll be interested to see what happens with the winner of this fight. So what I'll do in this video, I'll break down both fighters and then I'll do my prediction.
Fighting out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, ladies and gentlemen, he is the former WEC lightweight champion, Anthony Showtime Pettis.
Anthony Pettis. Anthony Pettis, Showtime is his nickname, and Showtime is his fighting style. He's a skilled stand-up fighter. Also, he has a very balanced fight game. He's a third-degree black belt in Taekwondo. He trains in Muay Thai. He has really a very deadly arsenal of weapons in his stand-up game. He has very good leg kicks, great hands, elbows, and the thing is that it's not so much that one thing is better than the other. All of his assets complement each other very well. And his leg kicks, he knows how to work his combinations very well. It's not so much he gives you the same look of his strikes. He mixes up his combinations well, and it's because of these two backgrounds in these arts. And also, Pettis does have 5 knockouts on his resume. And like I said, is that you don't know what to expect from Anthony Pettis in the stand-up game. Prime example is the leg kick off the cage they did to Ben Henderson. Nobody was expecting that. And really, he incorporates the cage in his stand-up. He tries to hop off the cage with a strike, hop off the cage with a punch. He really mixes it up well. He does not give you the same look of strikes. He's very unpredictable, is the best way to put Anthony Pettis' stand-up game. And he has good power. Like I said, he has 5 knockouts. He knows really how to pick guys apart. He does look for that knockout strike, but really I think it's more that he can pick you apart with his strikes. He's a smart stand-up fighter. He's an electrifying stand-up fighter, and he brings the fight to you as well. Anthony Pettis does not sit back. He brings the fight to you. So that's Anthony Pettis' stand-up. His ground game, here's the thing, is that Anthony Pettis is known as this very skilled stand-up fighter, this electrifying stand-up fighter, and he is, but he has more submission victories on his resume. He has 6 submission victories, a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He fights very well off his back. Anthony Pettis is a smart fighter off his back. He's very tenacious with his submission attempts. He doesn't so much sit back and he's patient. He's trying to lock it in constantly. He's trying to catch you at any point to lock it in. He does not give you the chance to manhandle and dominate him when he's on his back, because he's constantly having you think about when is he going to throw that other submission. He does not give you much time to rest when you are on top of him. He's trying to lock it in constantly. So his submission defense, his submission offense is very, very good. And he's never been finished by submission before. He's never been knocked out before. So that's what I have in regards to Anthony Pettis. A couple pros in regards to Anthony Pettis is that he has the 72-inch reach to Lauzon's 70. He has a 2-inch reach advantage in this fight. And also, he's the more dynamic and versatile stand-up fighter in this fight. You know, his background in the Taekwondo and the Muay Thai, he brings a lot more to the table, a lot more dynamic in the stand-up game in this fight. And also, another pro is that he's never been finished before. He has the better chin in this fight. Anthony Pettis is only lost by decision. He's taken quite the shots on his feet, but he's also got very good stand-up defense. He knows how to avoid strikes very well because of his arts that he practices in the stand-up game. But he is very skilled in this fight. He has the better chin. He has the better dynamic striking. So those are the pros that I have for Anthony Pettis. Some of the cons in regards to Anthony Pettis: he's not a pure wrestler. He fights very well off his back because he is on his back a lot when it comes down to the ground. Is that he's not so much dominating guys on top, really. He fights more off of his back, and he is not the bigger fighter in this fight. He's got a very interesting build. He's very, I don't want to say lanky. He does have the longer reach in this fight, but he's a very slim and sleek guy for this division. I think Lauzon will have the size advantage in this fight when it comes to not the weigh-in weight, but the fight day weight.
Fighting out of Bridgewater, Massachusetts, Joe J-Lau Lauzon.
Joe Lauzon. Joe Lauzon, all of his fights, here's the best way to sum up Joe Lauzon, is that we called Anthony Pettis Showtime. That's his nickname. Joe Lauzon's a gamer. He always shows up to fight, and he always tries to put on a fight. Here's the prime example: is that Joe Lauzon has never won by decision. Joe Lauzon has 21 victories, and all of them have been in finishes. 4 of them have come by knockout, 17 have come by submission. So all of his wins, he always is constantly looking to finish fights. He will not win. I'm not saying that he cannot win a fight by decision, but he looks to finish fights. He is a fan-friendly fighter. People like Joe Lauzon. He is a gamer. He will always come to fight, never lays back. He is always going to bring the fight to his opponent. So a couple things about Joe Lauzon. His stand-up game, I want to say it's serviceable. I do not think it's the better. He does not have the better stand-up in this fight, but he's a smart stand-up fighter. Okay, he fights very smart. He knows how to step up in the pocket. He knows his distance. He knows the gapping in the stand-up. Prime example is the Melvin Guillard fight. Melvin Guillard came out very aggressive and very cocky, and Joe Lauzon simply to equalize that Melvin Guillard's game plan, he steps up in the pocket and he catches Melvin Guillard. It was a smart way to fight. Okay, sit back, let him throw, counter strike. Joe Lauzon is a very smart stand-up fighter, and you know he doesn't have so much. He's not explosive. He doesn't have quick hands. He has pretty good knockout power, but he uses his brain on his feet. Okay, now he cannot, I want to say he can get into brawls, but he's not going to outstrike people, but he will outsmart you on your feet. That's the best way to talk about Joe Lauzon's stand-up. Now, Joe Lauzon's ground game, 17 submission victories is unbelievable, and the guy is only a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He likes to rock fighters, and he likes to be in dominant position with fighters, and then finish them by submission, rear naked choke, armbar, you name it. Joe Lauzon can do it on the ground, and simply because of his can't-quit attitude and the no-quit attitude when it comes to the ground. He tries to dominate fighters, and he locks in submissions whenever he can. So he's constantly working when he's on the ground, and really, talk about a guy who has a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he has 17 submission victories. The learning curve for Joe Lauzon in regards to his ground game has got to be so much better than everybody else's. And he is a very, very exceptional submission fighter in the division. So, a couple pros and cons in regards to Joe Lauzon. Joe Lauzon, in regards to pros, he's the more skilled submission fighter. I'm definitely say that. He's definitely a better submission fighter because he can fight both in a dominant position and off his back and submit fighters. Also, I want to say that he's the bigger fighter in this fight. I don't want to say that he doesn't have the longer reach, but I think he's got the bigger frame. He's not sleek like Anthony Pettis. He's got a bigger build, and I think he can not so much bully Anthony Pettis, but it will be a big advantage for him in this fight. Also, another pro is I think he's more experienced than Anthony Pettis. He's seen a lot more competition than Anthony Pettis. A couple cons, though, in regards to Joe Lauzon. Joe Lauzon does not have the better chin in this fight. He has been finished before by a couple of fighters, and also he's been submitted before. I don't want to say I said he's the better submission fighter, but he has been finished before. So Anthony Pettis is not. I want to say that Joe Lauzon does not have the better chin, and maybe not the better submission defense, even though he's the better submission fighter and can finish fights. Also, in regards to is that his cardio has always been a big issue. He does finish a lot of his fights in the first round. He likes to finish them early, so because cardio has been an issue, tends to gas out in later fights. So that's what I have for both fighters. Couple categories I'd like to give each fighter the edge. Striking, that edge is going to go to Anthony Pettis. More dynamic, more versatile striker, brings a lot more to the table with his arts that he practices. Grappling is going to go to Joe Lauzon. This one's very close. I give him the slight edge of this one simply because he knows how to finish fights on the ground, both dominant and off of his back. In regards to toughness, I'm going to call this one a wash simply because even though Lauzon's been finished before, both guys can get into wars and both guys can get into dogfights with fighters. So I'm going to call this one a wash. In regards to experience, it's going to go to Joe Lauzon. The edge is going to go to Lauzon simply because he's been in more fights, he's seen more fighters, and he's been in the UFC longer than Anthony Pettis. So simply experience is going to go to Joe Lauzon. Where I see each fighter being successful, I see Anthony Pettis being successful. Even though he's balanced, I see him being more successful in outstriking Joe Lauzon on their feet, and I think if he keeps this one standing, he will find his openings and he will pick apart Joe Lauzon. Where I see Joe Lauzon being successful, using his size, using his skilled submission fighting to his advantage. The way you beat Anthony Pettis is by getting him on the ground, even though he's going to attempt submissions, and you beat him down. You break his will. That's what you do with a very finesse fighter. So that's where I see these two being successful. In regards to my prediction, I don't see it so much. This one could definitely be up for fight of the night. Both guys put on exciting fights. You know, I mean, Joe Lauzon, he's got 5 submission of the night honors. He's had 3 fight of the nights. Anthony Pettis had the kick off the cage. Both guys bring a lot to the table in regards to a fighting standpoint. It's going to be exciting. But where I see this fight, where I see it happen, it's going to be both on the ground and both standing up. I see both guys exchanging strikes in the first round. I don't see it so much these guys are going to wait. They're going to come right after each other. They're going to be chomping at the bits to get after each other. They're going to be throwing strikes. They're going to be on the ground. I see Lauzon getting Pettis on the ground in the first round. I see there being submission attempts. I see this fight getting into the second round, though. And I see Anthony Pettis' skilled striking becoming a big advantage. I see him being fresher in this fight. I see him finding the openings with Joe Lauzon. I see him rocking Joe Lauzon. I see Anthony Pettis winning this fight in the second round via TKO. So that's my prediction. I say Anthony Pettis beats Joe Lauzon via second round TKO at UFC 144 in Japan and inching one step closer to that title shot. So that's what I have for this edition of the Cage Side Couch. This is Kyle Delaney signing off. I'm out of here.